questions, and I almost want to say he's come back more, he didn't come with me this morning, he's almost come back more concerned, you know, we've got to put our son in Waldorf because, you know, this, and I'm like, oh man. So how, if you have partners that are not partnered in however you decide to educate your child, how do you do that? And I guess this question is for the dads, because it really seems like, you know, my husband says it was all the dads at the dad panel that really didn't get it.
So, do you want, I mean, these guys do. So, do you want to know how they were convinced, how it was that they managed to get it? Is that the idea?
Help me help my husband get it. And I don't know if that's...
It might not apply to them, but you could try.
Yeah, I'll give it back to that. It's tough because I'm pretty much on board all the way, and it's hard really can understand how it wouldn't make perfect sense to really be in a situation where you are connecting with your kids and working with them to look at the world and just be open to whatever they're interested in. And I guess I would probably suggest it may not. There may be a lot of fear and worry involved, and like my kids are going to fail because they don't know what other kids know, and the reality is that you're never going to know what everyone knows, and everyone's unique and beautiful and perfect just the way that they are. So I think a way of sort of approaching that is looking at the underlying fear and worry and really calling it out and being honest about it. So I would ask you what's he afraid of, and how can you work with that?
How old are your kids?
I have a 3-year-old and I have a 9-year-old. It's going 4th grade-ish.
Where do you live?
We live in the country along the American River, so we don't have this village community that everyone talks about.
I was going to say maybe the best way to help convince them is have them come out for a beer with us one night. Spend the evening talking.
I've heard about this SEDS group. Do you guys know about that? And are they local?
Well, the Secret Society of Unschooling Dads. That was an East Coast thing that started. I think.
We don't really want to cover that because we don't have. We can have one here. If you
Why not? Let's do it next year.
We'll do it next year.
You know, I don't know. That's a really tough thing, and I mean, if anything, I needed a little bit of convincing along the way. Usually, when I have my biggest fears, and that's what it's all about, is like you're not doing the right thing for your kid, and you want to do the best thing that you can possibly do. And then I started understanding that I don't know what the best thing possibly to do is, and just letting it happen is a really powerful thing. And you know, my daughter is 16 now. I have 2 kids. No one's been arrested. We don't have any drug problems. Like, things aren't going so bad. There's a lot of positive too. But I don't know. I think that's as much of a personal issue dynamic between how communication and openness and trust as anything. I mean, just like you can't make a mushroom go, I don't know that you can make your partner want to unschool. But being around the unschooling community and seeing the examples, you know, it is really a very powerful thing. The same kind of thing, you know, from a masculine perspective, is my father, who was a high school teacher his whole career. High school social studies, history, AP. I mean, he really believed in the power of public education. And that was a tough nut to crack. And we brought him to a conference in Peabody, Massachusetts, one of the Live and Learn conferences. And he got a little reputation there about being a troublemaker and challenging everything. But by the end of it, that was it. He was on board, and just seeing, talking to the unschooled kids, the older kids, that may be a really powerful thing. Have them get to know some older unschooled children and realize that they have 2 arms, 2 eyes, they're real people, and they're doing some pretty incredible things.
He didn't want to come with you to the talk. He stayed home today. He was here.
So one of the things, the thoughts that comes to mind is that this is not uncommon. It's a pretty common dynamic for unschooling moms that, you know, as moms, and this is a generalization because there are some dads that come to it. In fact, I've seen one that kind of maybe leave their wives alone. But typically it's the moms because we're in the trenches, we're with the kids, you know, most of the time we're connected to them, and so some of this stuff really makes sense. We see that light in their eyes, whereas the dads may not kind of have that day-to-day connection so much. And we're the ones, generally speaking, that are reading new material, that are looking, you know, if there's trouble at home, it's kind of on us to solve that or to kind of look that out, and so we're, you know, looking for those new resources. And then kind of filling the dads in as needed. And that was the dynamic in our house too. And then, so one of the things that really brought my husband right kind of along was actually being here many years ago and being at it was a homeschool, grown homeschool panel, but it really, the kids were all unschooled. And listening to their stories, you know, this one's off doing this thing and that thing, and some of them were in college, some of them weren't, but they were all leading interesting lives. And we had the typical, I shouldn't say typical, but you know, the story a lot, he wants to be on the computer all the time. And one of the young men on the panel told his story, which is I was the 12-year-old kid that wanted to be on the computer all the time and gaming and whatnot, and that's what he did. And he said, and I didn't, you know, because somebody had just said, yeah, I did that for like a year, and then I moved on and, you know, into other things. And he's like, yeah, I never did. And by the time he was 16 years old, he had a press pass, and he was reviewing games and conventions and writing for magazines and whatnot. And then, I don't know, he was in his 20s, mid-20s maybe, and he was a programmer. And he said he felt like he got a many-year jump on his peers as far as, you know, really pursuing his career and knowing what his interests were and being connected with those passions. And so seeing, you know, hearing those stories and seeing those live people, those young people, and how sparkly and interesting their lives were was really what did it for him. When he came home, it's like, okay, that's it.
My husband is actually giving a talk right after this one about that very topic. He was a valedictorian in his class, and I would have been on mine, but I graduated 2 years early. So we both came from it thinking school was great. But when we started questioning how learning actually occurs, both in how it occurred in us and how it occurred in our kids, it became abundantly clear that we didn't need any of those school trappings.
Can I say something? I'm just like your husband. I was your husband.
He was your husband.
I was like, this is not going to work. And it's not because I want the best for my kids, but we all want the best for our kids. We all want the best for our kids, but the problem we have is it becomes a financial issue. Okay, when one parent is at home, the other parent got to work.
This is a really bad precedent, but we're going to let you do it. Don't count on it, anybody else.
For one parent to stay at home and get our kids the best education. So when she came to me and said she wanted to stay at home, I was devastated. And she made twice as much money as I did. So I was like, this is not going to work. But over the years, by cutting back, saving, doing what we want to do, I take pride now. I know when I'm off, my kids are off. When I say I'm going to go on vacation, they're on vacation. And whatever we do, they learn. So, you know, my kid asked me, Dad, why is the water running in the bathroom? We just go on the internet, surf it, and he can write a paper on it. And so you have to convince them like that. You know, because we all want to live a comfortable life. So it's financial. Sorry. I'm sorry, sweetheart.
Thank you. Okay, so I had one other thing to add to this, because I had a very recalcitrant husband, and he wasn't really on board until the kids were grown up and there was nothing more he could really say. And he'll still, now it's all a joke, because now he looks back and he's like, okay, well, obviously it
because you unschooled, you know, or sometimes, once in a while he'll say, think about what they'd be doing if they hadn't unschooled, and I think, like, what? You know, they're really successful, wonderful kids. So, but we really I have two things to say. One is, don't insist on unschooling if the other partner's not in favor of it. Like, you do a little bit of compromising because they have to be on board or it's not really a good situation. So don't just like demand to full-blown unschool. It's better to compromise the unschooling than to compromise your marriage. Okay, so, and both parents have a right to have, you know, to say what the kid's education should be like and stuff. So, I think compromise is okay. The second thing I had to say, I probably forgot. Oh, yeah. The other thing is always say, gosh, you read my mind, seriously. The other thing I have to say is, like, don't insist you're going to do it forever. Don't make it seem like you're jumping off a cliff. Just sort of do a little bit of it and let them see the results. But you do sometimes, especially if it's a dad who's, like, gone away from home all day and you've got younger kids, and by the time dad gets home, the kids are tired and things aren't really the same as the wonderful unschooling bliss that you got to experience, mom, or vice versa, if it's a stay-at-home dad. So you do have to report. And so I have to say, I constantly tell people they don't need to keep records, and I forget that I did this little record-keeping thing when they were really, really young, right at the beginning, for my husband. And I just kept notes throughout the day of things that we did, and because I'm really good at translating things into educationalese, you know, I just wrote things, like I would write down what we've done, and I would, when I sent it to him, I would say, so you realize that's like math, right? Or I would say, this is science. And a couple of times he said to me, like, you know, you're just taking the things they do anyway and calling them this. And I said, well, yeah. I mean, that is what I'm doing. That is kind of the point. But that doesn't make them any less that. That is because that's what they are. They really are that. So he was on to me in a sense. Like, I wasn't fooling him. Like, I was trying to convince him we had actually sat down at the table and done like math worksheets. But if we'd sat at the table and played the game of life for hour after hour after hour after hour, you know, and I told him we did math today and economics, you know, the game of life, and family planning, or I'm not done family thinking about families. Well, you have children, you get little blue or little pink pigs. So when I told him like we did math today or we did economics, I didn't try to social studies, yeah, school subjects, right? I didn't try to pretend that we had done something else. But I said that we've done these things today so that he would start to make that connection, and he totally made that connection over time. Okay, I actually have a third thing. One of them is to get him involved with other people's kids that are your kids' ages. So what really changed my husband is when he started coaching girls soccer and he was around other kids, because our kids were shining stars in the world of hundreds of other kids, and especially like the 20 that he would have on his team that he was working with, and it made our kids look really good in his eyes, and he stopped worrying so much about them. Okay. Yes?
Yeah. Same as that. I homeschool 2 boys, 26 and 29 now. And my question is about recalcitrant kids. At high school age, they said, forget it, want to go to school. And they did go to school, and they did graduate college, and one is teaching in a Waldorf school, the other is a professional gambler. He makes but I have a 4-year-old now, and I want to deal. I want to know how to, because she loves school. She's in a Montessori school with my ex-wife. Anyway, and loves it, and so she's saying, well, next year I'm going to go.
I'm going to school.
I'm going to go to school.
Okay, multiple parts there. Can I ask him a couple of questions to get something clarified? Okay, the older boys who got recalcitrant and then wanted to go to high school, were you unschooling? And
we were unschooling.
okay. So did you understand what their needs were that weren't being met? I mean, did you know that what the problem was, why they wanted to go to school, or it was just bewildering you?
What they said was the other homeschool families were too hippie.
Too hippie. Okay, and then
so they're friends. They have. I mean, and the problem is these are still their friends. They never made any friends in high school.
They still have their old they're hippie friends. They're hippie friends.
You know,
Their childhood
friends, okay. Their friends that they still have are
Okay, so let's generalize just a little bit, since your question is so specific to your kids, but let's make it a little bigger.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we think about kids who decide they want to go to school? How do we handle that? How do we feel about it? What do we think are the reasons, or how we react to it, stuff like that, right? More or less.
Well, off the bat, I would say that if it's something that they love and want to try out or check out, I mean, I don't see any particular problem letting them do it. For example, I don't consider unschooling to be a strict method in any way. In my mind, it's more of a positioning of your heart in the way that you relate to your family and your kids. So as long as you're prioritizing your connection with them and their ability to be connected with the world in a way that matters for them, I think that is the optimum way of being healthy. So I don't necessarily write off school as a strategy for connecting. I know several people in our community whose kids have gone off to join high school or junior high just because they wanted more, their own affinity groups, people who wanted to sports, games, whatever, and to not be part of the homeschooling group. I don't think there's any particular issue with that, as long as you're always prioritizing your connection with your kids and their relationship with the world. It's fine strategy.
By some of my best friends have gone to school. No, I think it's if that's what they want to do, by all means, let them to do it. I think that's part of unschooling. And actually, I think the unschooling approach would be that's what they want to do, let them go to school. And then it's how do you deal with those issues that come up? That's going to be the challenge. But
I'm afraid to sit on the edge of the
So the question, Sandra, is what do you do with recalcitrant unschoolers who want to go to school?
Holly thought about going to school and you're not going to let her go, but it didn't make her recalcitrant because I wanted her to be learning and she would have been learning about school.
Yeah. I was going to say that a kid that has choice is completely different than a kid that doesn't have choice and thinks that they have to be there no matter what. And kids that have had that experience of choice and decision making are going to approach that whole situation completely differently. And I can relate to that feeling of kind of being fearful or thinking it's going to change them. But when they have that strong core, if they feel change, they're going to stop going.
I'm sorry to bring this up, but even though she's 4. What about
Sorry?
a 4-year-old? We got high school age, we got 4-year-old questions.
Well, 4-year-olds is probably more about a fantasy, I think, than an idea than necessarily. So are you saying the 4-year-old that's not in school, she's having a great experience?
They're gone.
Yeah. It's unclear to me with your specific situation. Is it that who wants to homeschool? Like, you want to homeschool, but
No,
it's
we both, that's my wife and I.
Oh, you both want to homeschool and unschool. You both, the ex-wife wants to unschool also.
No.
His wife and himself.
That's her question.
Oh, and the 4-year-old is currently with you. It's not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine.
It's just a second.
Don't worry about that part. That's
All right.
So they have a 4-year-old and they want to unschool, and she's talking about school a lot. Talking about next year when she goes to school. So.
Okay, and she's in school right now, or she's not?
She's in Montessori.
That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. That one. My son didn't want to go to school, and that was way back in the day, and I kind of made him go. So I had the opposite experience. I don't know.
Think you're better off there. Right.